What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another recap review show with your good friends at Big Gold Belt Media. Once again, for another BMF season 4 recap, with this episode being Power Trippin'. We're late. We've already said this was a hectic week for us, nonetheless. So let's just start there. We're late, but we're here because we got to get this episode done. And I am here to ensure you that episode 5 is already ready for you and will be there after that episode drop on the 4th, by the way. So just for the record, I know the 4th is a holiday, but the new episode is dropping, which sometimes they try to avoid holidays, but no, episode will be released by us and by BMF on the 4th. But yeah, we had to get episode 4 done. And before we get started, we would love to give another special congratulations to our sister of Big Gold Belt Media, and that is Amaya herself, newly married. And with that, we've been busy. Keeping her afloat because you know how stressful wedding planning and preparations and the weather could be. We also had our hands in being a part of the wedding in ways we didn't know we were going to be.
Exactly.
But we had a good time, and congratulations to her and her husband. So definitely go over to her page and give her love. Also, we had a birthday because you thought I forgot. Mr. Uncle Lou recently turning 55. So he just got his AARP card and he's doing
55
good.
Is crazy. 55 is crazy.
So happy birthday to you, sir. And definitely, folks, y'all know where to find him. Show him love. Help him accumulate a nice bar tab on your account and all that good stuff. But yeah, I know we're late for a lot of good reasons, and nonetheless, we're here to talk about episode 4. So let's get into it. So at this rate now, everybody has definitely seen it. But definitely there's things to talk about here. And we'll talk about the more sophisticated things in more depth, but we'll skim over all of the episode nonetheless. And all right, so we now once again go back to Mexico where we see everybody running around or getting water. There's definitely a sense of paranoia on everybody's face. But Loco, who obviously you can tell he's about this life. He even in this even in the little convenience stores, he knows to keep his heads on P's and Q's, and he sees the cops. He quickly disarms one. We see Meech and T working together. But I think what's really of any importance of this scene is that, you know, we see Loco sort of rubbing off on Meech, learning a thing or two, where Terry has a different sort of objective, but also just a whole different demeanor when it comes down to this. Like, he's like, we need to get out of here. More cops are going to come. Meech is having fun shooting at the cops' feet as they were stripped. And I wouldn't go as far as saying torturing, but like, you know, little bit of getting back at them, you know, making them look, making fun of them per se. Yeah, a little bit cruelty. Yeah. But now we go back to the studio where we see Perty in the booth. Seeing that she's rapping and not singing, giving her free studio time, and Meech talks about the new label and she's going to be the first to sign. And then she even talks about how like Trell never gave her that opportunity, man. She wanted him to be his R&B princess, and she wants to rap. I don't know why when I heard this, you know, rest in peace to him. But the first thing I thought was like, this sounds like Earth Guardian Ashanti, but you can make of it as you please. But you know, it's her. She says she understands the business, the landscape of the business and how it is. And at the end of the day, Meech is going to make her a believer of his new vision. We get Lucille and Estelle. Now, Lucille, I think this is an important scene we could talk about here. Estelle is the girlfriend that's sort of giving her a different perspective of things. First thing first is that we see Lucille's definitely having some financial struggles, and she's talking about how she's supposed to be a leader and helping other folks with their issues when she's sharing the same ones. Now, hold your thought on that for 1 second. But Estelle is rocking the mink, the fur that Meech gave her, and she's obviously looking like she wants to keep on to that. And Lucille talk about exploring the options of welfare, but she can't do so with Charles being in the house. And and Lucille mentioned about wanting to sell it, but Estelle said sell the fur, but Estelle said, well, why don't you sell the ring? That has no use. You have no use of that anymore. And so this is sort of I would say a good girlfriend conversation about, you know, what she should do given all of the situation, the predicaments that she's in. What did you make of this? And I know we did talk about where we see Lucille's arc going, you know, from her sort of the influence of the super churches in Atlanta, her trying to avoid the lifestyle of her sons and the money that they get, her trying to, I guess, stay legit in terms of being the leadership of the church, but also avoiding temptation, going through a separation with Charles, you know, dealing with Nicole and her situation, which we know that she did get a full ride, but a full ride didn't cover room and board, which for a minute I started thinking like,
no, you didn't get a full ride.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Unless things were just different back then, you know. But like full ride definitely means they had everything taken care of.
Room, board, meal pass, all that stuff. Yeah, she didn't get full ride.
Probably got like a little bit of money for some books and everything. You know, that's typically the thing they don't pay for is like the books. But like, you know, typically they might give you a little extra something for that. So
books are what Pell Grants are made for.
Yeah,
goddamn, I'm paying for books.
Hey, it's crazy that books used to cost like $300-$400, and then they were worth nothing by the end of the semester. What a hustle!
I applied for every Pell Grant in the world to pay for books. I refused. But in this scene, I'm more interested in the point that supposedly her ring costs as much as that mink coat. We know goddamn well Charles ain't got no money. Ain't no way that ring gonna bring back as much as that coat would have brought back. But it's also interesting that, you know what? She never needed welfare when she worked at Wendy's. But you need welfare as a pastor? That tells you right there you are making the wrong decisions in life here.
Yeah.
If your congregation can't supply the pastor with living means, why would you be the pastor of that church? This was a weird conversation between them two. And also Lucille bringing up, you know, I would be on welfare, but Charles lives in the house. Charles ain't got to live there though. She just was begging Charles for child support for grown kids. Like, Charles don't need to live there. Like no one needs to be in your business that Charles lives there. If you don't defraud the government like everybody else and just get over with it, like this is a conversation about the moral veracity and how that weighs on Lucille, because everything is about her morals here. Down to her girlfriend saying, "Why would you say get rid of the coat?" That's a moral decision to keep a coat from a drug dealer, even though that's your son. It's also a moral decision to decide if you're gonna take the help from the government, even though you're now separated, soon to be ex-husband is living with you, or if you're just pawning your wedding rings, because that's the end of everything technically. The moment you do something of that nature.
Yeah, so hold on. What is your thoughts about her keeping the ring? It wasn't an initial thought. Her asking for child support, but also at the same token trying to get him out the house. Like, what do you make of all of it?
I'd got rid of the ring. It don't matter. You're not married anymore. Why keep the ring? Unless for some people sentimental value does kick in. But if it's a wedding band, I don't see how you get any money for that. You get money for the engagement ring, it depending, but not the wedding band. Like nobody give you real money for that. So here's the weird part. It's almost why keep it? And if you're gonna keep it, why would the thought process be I can pawn it now? Like it contradicts with the feelings that are probably involved there. And that's the issue with Lucille here, is a lot of this is about feelings. It has nothing to do with the actual need of money in this situation, because the coat will be the first thing to go. That coat gonna get you big money, and the ring ain't gonna get you no money. So if it was just about money, you would get rid of the coat. But I think it's the feelings that are attached to everything. As we saw last episode, when Charles even brought up that he was dating somebody, and we saw the visceral reaction from Lucille to that. Like, y'all supposed to be separated, and you looked at him like, I can't believe you're dating other people. So I think that's the problem. Yeah. And then every woman has a homegirl who just don't know no better, who minded everybody else's business and talk about, girl, why you don't keep the coat? Get rid of that ring. Because the ring ain't gonna give me no money. Like, the ring is gonna bring $50 here. The coat gonna bring a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Even in that time period.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, but to keep it 100 here, because I started to contemplate what you're saying, but we're talking about a ring from Charles and a fur from Meech. So
No,
it would be different if
it's an
Meech got her a
emotional.
ring. You know, just the caliber of what it is. You know, you're not
That's why I
expecting
said
so
it's
much
an
from a
emotional
ring from
decision to
Charles.
me. That's why I said it's emotional.
Yeah,
It's not logical.
No, when you talk about worth though, because like a proper ring from a
From a real
somebody
nigga.
who might that's all I'm saying. Let's make sure we clear on that.
They say her wedding ring. If they're just talking about the band is really never worth any money.
Yeah, I don't think they got too political with it, but you know what they mean. The one that's supposed to have the diamond on it. That's what they're at here. Yeah,
well, you know Charles ain't got no money.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So,
So
I mean,
right, so to sum this up though, is to say that Lucille's struggling with money, but there's still some emotional connection to Charles. That's why she didn't think the ring first anyway, because regardless, there's no emotion. If there was no emotional connection, I mean, $5 is still more than zero when you need some money. You know what I mean? But
and she feels bad about the coat because she's a pastor at a church that clearly pays her nothing.
Yeah,
like, come on now. But she was able to give. I got questions. How'd your church broke, but she was able to give away money?
Yeah.
Pastor money.
I want Spider-Man!
All right, let's get into the rest now. We got B, Mickey, and T looking to have a little meeting as they continue, as T continues to put B, Mickey through the test through trust, makes him basically strip close to naked to see if he's wired up or anything. Hoop is giving, I don't know what's up with Hoop, but like Hoop asking him about the bracelet around his arm, only to say it was a hospital bracelet. Dumbass and have a laugh. But he says, listen, I need you to keep eyes on someone having loyalty issues. Now, first and foremost is I do think that Hoop and T are having a little fun with sunning B Mickey, but they understand his value. They just want to make sure he's clean, so they're doing it in a very laid back, comical way. Again, another measure of the same day that he was sort of being resentful towards Meech with Mexico. It's cruelty. It's the same thing. So in a way, it's like he is keeping his eye on his big brother and how his big brother does things. No matter how you want to put it and how he tried to act like he's so not, he is. This is literally the same thing.
He's still jealous of B Mickey. In the end, that's
a good point.
Still jealous of him.
That's a great point. But when he said he needed to keep eyes on somebody he's having loyalty issues with, now keeping 100 here, who do you think he was talking about?
Anybody but Lakeisha.
That is exactly what I was thinking.
Anybody but Lakeisha.
There have been no hints until this very moment that there was a sense of lack of trust with her. I thought they were sending him to St. Louis to check on Jay Pusher.
That would be the smart one. Yeah.
And it wasn't. So
because Terry makes emotional decisions.
Yeah.
This ain't got nothing to do with keeping an eye on her loyalty. This has to do with you're mad that she ain't willing to give you nothing no more. And she done, besides business, she's moved on. And T don't like that. And then he getting rejected by the baby mama who like, nah. LaWanda like, nah, if it's about like money and business, cool. But anything else, nah, you on your own. So this is just T being emotional.
Yeah, for sure. We know that to be true because of what happens later. So Brian in Atlanta with the Red Dolls with Hardy. And they basically are looking up Duffy. They just need a real name. They say the place to be is the strip clubs. Hardy says, I can't be there. Everybody knows me. As soon as they see me, they're going to run. So Brian, this one's on you. Now we see Terry and LaWanda having a quick moment with each other. LaWanda talks about leaving the salon, but also mentions about getting a new job at the town hall. And Terry has a little bit of moment of it saying like, well, of all the people around me, you are the one that has loyalty that I can trust, which is I think this is it's a slight statement, but I think it's a powerful one in a way because he has trust issues with everybody. So for him to actually say he actually do trust her, I kind of take him for his word here. And he then proceeds to ask her to hold money for the family, well, for him, but she says, I'll do it for the family. So do you take him at his word here? Do you think he's genuine about how he feels about LaWanda?
Absolutely not. He wants to why? Because he's rejected already. Like to me, that's the whole like crux of Terry right now is he's already been rejected, so now he goes back to the person who he thinks he can always get, and she done moved on, So now it's always he giving her to DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Like, you loyal, you down, like all that bullshit. She ain't falling for it. She like, look, as long if it's about our kids and our family, cool, but nothing else matters. And I think that's what Terry is reaching for straws right now.
Yeah.
Because at one point he had everybody in his corner, and now nobody's there. And it ain't a loyalty thing. It's just that everybody is making moves and leaving him behind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. But I think I have to agree with you.
Speaking of loyalty with Terry, we could talk. We're coming up on somebody who we should have really been questioning about loyalty.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we already did, but nonetheless, we're back in St. Louis with Loco.
Not that person. We'll get to that person I'm talking about. I ain't talking about that person.
Yeah. They just talking about where they're going to be, the new facility and whatnot. And he says, like, listen, we don't want no more problems. And with Pusha, Loco wants to meet, but initially he says he doesn't want to expose him. But I think Meech made a good point. This all does happen because of Loco. So if he wants to do it, then that's what it's going to be. So he shows up to the new facility and says, like, yeah, I'm gonna give you the details on the meet. Now, Charles, Nicole, and Cecilia here at the restaurant. Nicole is very much embracing of, yeah, go ahead, Pops. You deserve to be happy. Just don't hurt him, Cecilia. And at the same time, too, we get Worm, who is one of Meech's men, out here flirting with him and says, it is my job to take you home because I broke dress code. So now I fell out of trust with him. And this is my way of regaining his trust by flirting with you. Now, we did talk about this a little bit. This is wild. But go ahead.
But I just want to say again, not Meech's man. This is Terry's man.
Yeah.
And this is what I meant by loyalty in people. How dare you have people following one person and then Worm out this joint putting every move humanly possible on your sister?
Can't be good. So my thought is, of course, as a man, as one of your soldiers, right? It should be a given. I mean, they do this all the time. In every show that we cover of this genre, everybody has a soldier that you can put on your family, put on your kids, siblings if need be, because, if you can't be around to protect them for reasons, these are the persons that's supposed to do so. Yeah. Worm is 1 billion% out of line here. It's so reckless and dangerous that whatever happens to this guy, we have to be on. All of us across the globe have to be on a that we saw that coming. Well, like at this rate now, there's playing with fire, and then there's also trying to have a party on the sun. Like this dude here.
It's also crazy to put somebody like him on your sister.
Now, do you think he had any inklings that this could be a thing? Now, the dress code thing is definitely silly as fuck. But did he think somebody will fall out of line this quickly off the sense of just glazing over his sister? Do you think anybody could ever be that stupid?
No, because he still sees Nicole as a child. And that's the problem.
Okay.
Like, in all honesty, if I'm running an enterprise, you know what I'm not going to do? Introduce a teenage nigga to my teenage sister. No. I don't know where that could end up at. But it would be somebody older who would know better. Man, Worm is a little youngin' too. He's different than Nicole is here, because Nicole would know better if it was somebody older. But you don't put this dude in front of her, and he's smart. That's the key part too. Like, do your background check. Give her a dumb nigga, a nigga who don't know nothing but the streets. Nicole won't be attracted to that person. But Worm is an educated boy who's only in this because of what happened with his family. He literally is giving her the same sob story that her brothers have.
Yeah.
And now Nicole she ready to take the Worm. She ready already. That quick. Didn't take no time at all.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very true. We know where that's going. We predicted it, and here it comes.
Right in the dime.
Yeah.
That was the disrespectful part there.
Oh, I was gonna save it to them, but completely disrespectful on all accounts.
How you bust your cheeks open in my diner, Joe?
Yeah, it's like he just can't walk in at any time. But you know what though? We were all young doing things we wasn't supposed to do at somebody's parents' house, and didn't realize that they were gonna walk in.
It wasn't my parents' house.
Well, it was as again, someone parents' house who could have came in at any point.
Hey,
there's been a few of us that had to jump out of windows. Not me.
I was doing things in people's husbands' houses, but that got shit to do with it.
The bottom line is you know better. but I do think one thing I think there is to mention is that they are sort of similar in age. So the immaturity is something that they're bonding over in a way, because they both know this is reckless, right?
Exactly.
And they both know this is an impulsive thing, because everything they did was definitely one of those like, were you thinking this out? Absolutely not. As an adult, you look back and say, what was I thinking? As a kid, you're like, this is the opportunist time to have done this, which is completely reckless. And well, when you do reckless things, you tend to end up getting crazy receipts from it. So we'll see. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Let me ask you a quick question though. Then we'll move on. Do you think this would have been a mistake Meech would have made? Because putting worm on her is a Terry thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Meech would have made that mistake of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's a Meech thing. I think if Meech would have put anybody on it, he would have put B Mickey on it, and B Mickey's family. And he's older at that too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He would have a little bit more calculated. He would have put Hoop on it. Somebody else who's close to the family.
Exactly.
You know, so
you put somebody on it that the family don't know, and someone who you've already had an issue with.
Why didn't he put B Mickey on it? That seems to be a very easy
one for do, because B Mickey, because he's focused way more on finding out what LaWanda's doing.
Markeisha.
Damn,
yeah.
Markeisha, LaWanda, Lucille. It's a lot of hood names here. But he's way more worried about what Markeisha's doing than anything else. And I think that's why he made the decision to put Worm on Nicole, which makes no sense, because you would want the person you put on Nicole to be someone who she also trusts. And that would have been B Mickey.
Yeah. 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 All right. Moving on. So now we're back in St. Louis with Terry Meech, and they just talk about the St. Louis lingo. And Terry is excited to meet with Loco, but Meech had already did so. So of course Terry is pissed about that. But Loco wants to meet with Jay Pusher, and as he mentioned, whatever Loco wants, that's whatever he gets. So we're gonna have him meet with Pusher. He's just gonna, as we know, he just sits on the side and kind of plays a fly on the wall. As he mentioned, he's just not going to intervene, just gonna watch and learn, or just kind of see how everything's going about. I'm gonna come back to that statement in 1 minute. But Meech is very adamant that Pusher had already proven his loyalty to us. And they also mentioned about how they need to move the office out to St. Louis because it is more chill. They don't have to worry about Brian in Detroit or in Atlanta. And they realize that Pusher becomes way more valuable to them now. So they have to build this relationship with them and get on, everybody get on the same page. Yeah. But then he talks about getting tickets to the Source Awards from Tina. And this is going to help them still to deal with Purdy. And then once they get Perty locked in, others will follow. Now, really quick, I want to ask you a lot here. Did you ever suspect Loco could be trying to be up to something dirty by just wanting to be a part of the meeting?
I'm not going to say dirty, but
or wait. Or do you think Loco is guilty of anything wrong with everything?
No, because he's playing the angle that Jay Pusher wanted him to play. And that is, you do enough business for me, then I am going to pay attention to you. This is not a local issue. This is a Meech issue. Like, you never let your connect see someone else working just as hard or harder than you. Because then it becomes a situation where Meech becomes a middleman. And if I'm a connect, why do I need to deal with a middleman? I need to deal with the guy who can move the most and the safest. And this is all Meech's fault. So when he said that Jay Push has done stuff to get their trust, in all honesty, Jay Push has done stuff to get Loco's trust, not Meech and Terry's. So I don't think what he did at all here is wrong.
Okay. And what do you think about Meech basically grandstanding Pusher and how he is loyal? because of reasons, I guess. Only to find out that did not be true by the end of the episode.
Because he don't want to listen to Terry. This is all about him not wanting to pay any attention to Terry. And him always, Meech gets caught up in this type of BS when he feels the need to let Terry know that I'm still the big brother here. And I'm not following you, but we're going to follow me. And that's the part of their business that suffers the most, is when Meech get in those modes of thinking like, I don't need to involve you in anything. The point he met with Loco without Terry, and he knew Terry wanted to, was crazy. Because then you're telling me I'm not your partner. What you send me is I'm just your little brother who you can bring tagging along to stuff. And that's the building resentment between him and Terry. But yeah, all of this is because of Meech's ego. Meech does not want to admit that Jay Pusher may be a problem, because if he admits that, then he got to go hand in hat to Terry about it. And that's not something Meech is planning on ever doing.
Yeah. All right. Now, where do we go next? Markeisha goes to see Boom in jail. Baby this, baby that. But she wants to know about Isaac because it seemed like Isaac was caught up in this thing. She needs a new contact. And he says, listen, let that calm down. And I'll get you another contact soon.
Yeah.
Let's wait on her for a second. We'll get to her in a minute. But she needs another contact because she needs to be able to keep us afloat, talking about the kids and da. But yeah, we'll come back to Markeisha 1 minute. So we got Hoop and B Mickey, and when they were outside chilling and scoping, I didn't think they were gonna be looking at Markeisha, but that's who it is. But we also get a moment where B Mickey talks about, well, Hoop brings up how Kato had to be put down, and they appreciate B Mickey for doing that for the family, holding down for the family. But B Mickey said he found out that she was she had his seed. Yeah. And now he looks at his family now as a second chance. Moving on, we got Trail now. Basically, everybody's torturing everybody. This episode.
That's the running theme of this episode.
Yeah, trying to drown the DJ for not playing his songs, and says, "Listen, like I need my artist played every hour, and for you not doing that, here you go. So play my artist." Now Purdy, for whatever reason, thought she was getting her hopes up high to rap, but said, nah, not only are you not rapping, you now are in a girls group, because that's what everybody want in the 90s, is a girls group. And snacks her up and says, you're not shit without me. Typical bullshit.
She's now in 30W.
Yeah.
And she don't know what to do. She's so mad about the promises that he made that he's not keeping.
One thing she did get as a promise was access to another bump. As he said, I got you.
Hey, when push come to shove, all you need is a little bump to help your day go by.
Now we get where we go now. So we get Jay Pusher and Meech. Now we at Jay Pusher's spot. We see a bunch of bags of clothes, new arcade being brought up. We get introduced to all his folks. Reintroduction to his brother Carter, who was the baseball player who no longer can play no more because of his injuries, and now he's doing small jobs. And as T said, listen, we just need to all get on the same page. And they mentioned about going to gamble, which we know Terry loves, and that's the way they're going to kick back and whatnot. So they go to the casino where we see Loco in the back. They talk about having a ton in every state, and they had a little moment of Loco saying that Meech was his favorite, but T got mad about that and walked off, only to see T hanging out with Carter, who's trying to show him how to roll. But we also see that Carter has some beef with some other guys and really getting in his head, which we only learned to find out that those other guys are some Muslims. They're not to be played with, but that has nothing to do with Carter. That is his older brother's beef.
Yep.
And he just seems to have inherited it. I really don't want to spend time on this, but I will just quickly say that to see Jay Pusher not step up for his brother was a thing. To see how angry that Carter is about his brother, how much he resents his brother.
You talking about the whole thing? Oh, okay. I didn't know you were just talking about this one part, or even because I think it's very interesting, the conversation between him and Terry in the car.
Yeah. I'm
Is
gonna get to that still, but I'm
pinpoint.
just saying, like, we see like the
Early on,
younger brothers have a thing, the older brothers have a thing, and
Mhm.
ultimately Carter just seems to have fallen casualty to all of this. He didn't want to be a part of
Casualty
this.
of war.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit in a minute. So now we see Charles and Cecilia, and she's just basically talking about her ex, only for her ex to show up and get beat by Charles real badly. Charles had those hands.
And she looks like she doesn't want to be with Charles anymore because he beat her ex, because that look on her face. How dare you say all of that shit and this nigga punched me first?
Yeah. Now Worm and Nicole and they in the car vibing. And Worm just talking about why he works for T to get tuition in his family. They're just flirting, a whole bunch of flirting, and also just realizing they have more things in common than they realized. Jay Pusher and Meech. Now, this is the older brothers having a conversation about feeling responsible for the little brothers, and then Meech is basically saying he's going to ATL for the Source Awards. I don't know if there's anything to make of that, but then, as you mentioned, we get to see Terry and Carter in the car, and Carter's going off. Meech is trying to keep Terry's trying to keep him calm. And as he said, listen, this ain't about Rudy. This ain't about the Muslims. I hate my brother, and this is all of that's because of him. The other thing he did say was that he said that Meech is the man. He feels like Meech is a stand-up guy, only for T to say, well, what do you think about your brother? And, well, he fell asleep, but he still got no answer, which is 100% metaphorical for things to come very, very soon in this episode. You said some important things to talk about this conversation, so go for it.
Yes, definitely. First, it's just the correlation between the two younger brothers, down to Carter talking about his hand and how his brother took away his dream. And for him to then realize that Terry is blind because of a situation with his brother. And then that's the first connection we get between these two, to understand, like, both of them got thrusted into situations because of their older brothers.
Yeah.
And now they have to learn and deal with the consequences of it all. And I think that is the interesting dynamic here, because Carter becomes someone Terry can vent to about his issues with Meech, and vice versa with Carter. And it also goes to the conversation technically that Jay Pusher and Meech had about, you may want to protect and keep your little brother out of it, but if he wants to get in this business, he's going to get in. And we see the overall resentment from Carter, and that made me think, this is the way T gets rid of Jay Pusher. It's going to be through his brother.
Okay.
Because Carter has way too much. See, T's resentment at time for Meech is a sense that Meech is not letting him fully in on the business, and he keeps on treating him like a little brother. Carter's resentment of Jay Pusher is, you took my hopes and dreams away. Yeah. That's way more dangerous, and I think T's going to use that to his advantage.
Yeah, I like this sort of rendition of this story of the local hoop hero, the local ball player that should have made it. And they get caught up in some measure of violence or whatnot, and they end up not. I do like your pitch on this as well too. I think that's going to be interesting. But I ain't gonna lie, the first thing I thought was when Terry started talking about his eye, I was thinking to myself, like, well, Carter, did you get a settlement for your injury that didn't get handled right?
Clearly. Well,
because give your man your lawyer right now. My boy can get a bag, from what I'm hearing.
Terry was blind about company. Carter was kidnapped by another drug dealer. Okay, but then that's what builds the ultimate resentment for him. He knows the reason he can't play baseball anymore is because of his brother and his business. And Carter was on the premises. Am I saying that right? I think I said that word right. Yeah, cool. Of being like a 5-star recruit. So it wasn't like a situation where he was going to be a good guy. He was going to be a big recruit in baseball. And his brother's business caught up with him. And then his brother doesn't want him involved in the game, which is the only piece of solace it feels Carter has left. Jay Push is keeping him away from. All it does is build resentment. And then we see at the pool hall again, he's taking on beefs because of you. People feel comfortable calling him Gimp and all of these other things. And you're not opening your mouth when it's your fault for all of this. That all builds resentment up. And then all of a sudden, the only person that stood up for him that whole night was T.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I first of all, let me just say, I thought this episode was written very good. There's a lot of little things to pick up on. I think the episode was very intentional in all the small moments. Because, like, why did it matter we had to have a moment between Terry and Carter? You can almost say irrelevant, but like, as you talk about, there's definitely a lot they can do with that in the future. And as you talk about with the trust issue, so it's two things in this episode. It's obviously the duality of the brothers. We get that the entire time. But also, as you said, trust issues being one, and there definitely was a random thing of just like torture for whatever reason. But I would imagine that's going to come into place at some point, but we'll see. But anywho, with that being said, we get Nicole and LaWanda. They're just having sister moments, and this is nothing but LaWanda wanting to know what Nicole is on now. Nicole is being a fresh young lady, where first and foremost, as LaWanda said, there is no faithful Flenories alive. And she mentions about now she has eyes for Worm, who works for Terry. Of course, LaWanda thinks this is completely crazy. Nicole referenced that her and him has this bodyguard type shit, like the Bodyguard movie. It's funny too because that were kids saying that in the 90s?
Yes.
So it's like for us,
and
it's like for us when everybody was talking about loving basketball.
Me that, like, nah, Lou, you remember the 90s?
Like for my era, everybody always liked to attest their relationship
to You Got Served
as loving basketball.
Stomping Yard. Oh, I wasn't sure.
That was the one everybody always like, oh, that's loving. No.
But no, back in the day, everybody wanted that Frank relationship type Joan off a Bodyguard, Joe. You know how many girls wanted to be like, I need you to love me like he loved her, and you need to save me in your arms when he saved her.
That's crazy.
I am so much on Purple Rain. Bitch, I will leave you here like Morris Day in the time and throw you in a trash can.
That's great. That's crazy. But yeah, Nicole says, I'm married. I'm not married, so I can do whatever I want. And oh boy, yeah, you did. All right.
Not only that, we got like Breeze did brush her off completely.
But not in a way to make her go like this. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Worm got her, Joe. He a little taller than Breeze, a little rougher than Breeze.
He did.
She like, this the one. He college educated too.
One little reference of Malcolm X, and that's all it took. I'm learning about Malcolm X here.
Hey, that's why people think LeBron's smart. He read one page of every book. So hey, why can't you just give one little reference, man? That's all it takes.
Oh boy, let's get the rest of the episode now. We got B Mickey. He's getting he got a letter from Pastor Lucille, and obviously got money for his surgery. Brian and Hardy, they talk about going to Platinum Palace again. Where they narrowed it down to what strip club. He says he's going to Platinum Palace, and Hardy says he has to do stuff for the Olympics, which I thought was important to make a nod to that, because that's why the Red Dogs are in Atlanta, to prepare for all things Olympics and the optics that, well, Atlanta is a good place to be. Which is, when you think about it, Atlanta blew this so bad, pun intended, because not only did they have the bombing, which was not on their peripheral at all. They were worried about the crime and drugs so much that a terrorist came in.
Never would have popped into their head, Joe. It's like Die Hard 2, where the terrorists just came to the Atlanta airport. Nobody thought about him because they worried about everything else. Yes.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We had an Olympics since in the U.S., have we? Not a summer Olympics
this year.
Since Atlanta?
This year. No.
LA is 2026.
LA, yeah.
Oh yeah, because I'm going. LA 2026. I'm going.
LA getting the World Cup. They getting Olympics.
Look, that's why. Hey, dog, I'm going to LA for the Olympics, Joe. I don't give a fuck how much. I'm going. We Big Gold Belt will be there, and we will do color commentary like Snoop and Kevin Hart in the horse race
on the streets. On the streets in Inglewood, best believe.
Hey, yo, cuz, what you think?
Hey, I'm trying to tell you. But anyway, yeah. So B Mickey get the money from the church. A nice letter from Lucille. So throughout everything Lucille's going through, she did pull out the bereavement fund for him. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I already talked about that. We talked about Brian and B Mickey. I mean Brian and Hardy, not B Mickey and Hoop, and they having these nuts jokes is just wow. But now we see Markeisha with the cop. So now they realize that Markeisha's working T-Boom and a cop. But we hear that Markeisha is looking into Isaac Roberts. We get Purdy back in the studio, and Purdy comes in, and they're getting her right for the Source Awards. And she says, I'm in, I'm signing in. Fuck Trail, I'm with y'all. Stomping Ground Records is official. Did she get the chain? We see Meech and Maria having a little moment, the makeup artist, and basically tells Maria, man, like the whole goal is we got to get her to believe in herself like I do. You know, yeah, take another bump. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, they're gonna go. But Maria says, what did she say? About whatever.
But her and Meech being together about when he asked her to go to Source Awards, she said, "This is not my type of thing. I don't do stuff of this nature." Yeah. And she says, I don't need to meet Meech. Let me know when Demetrius is around.
That's right. That's right.
About going out on a date with one another.
That's right.
Is Perty supposed to be Queen Pen? Like, I've been trying to figure out what female rapper Perty is supposed to be.
She's a proxy. I think, again. So wait, one moment to that. What I was going to mention was Duffy said, we need to party now. Let's go to Platinum Palace. But they said, nah, we got to get ready for the Source Awards. I think very much that Perty is it's sort of a proxy of multiple people. That's because they don't want to go the Blue Da Vinci route. I don't think anybody would be as interested in that in terms of just building a brand new character here. So I think it's less about the artist. I think it's more about what they experience through having their first artist.
I think Blue signed with BMF Entertainment. Stomping Ground was first.
Nah, he signed with Stomping Ground.
He signed with Stomping Ground?
Oh, yeah, his first single was with them. Yeah. So
because we ain't even got to Jeezy and all of them yet, and Blue which is Jeezy.
Before Jeezy was with Jeezy, never signed with them.
I'm not saying that Jeezy signed with them. I'm saying that Jeezy was known of being, because we're in 95. Jeezy ain't around at all.
Right.
95 is super early. I don't think Blue was around in 95. Blue was around like 07. Like, we are super. That's why I'm wondering with Stomping Ground, because I know they did.
Well, to be clear, if you're being like super political, or accurate, historically accurate, Stomping Ground Records was never really the thing that they put on the map. They put out Stomping Ground Entertainment, and then that ultimately became, ultimately became like when the first artist and everything was just BMF. So I'm not
about who Perty is. I think it's not necessarily important. It's just the collective of it, because they're tying this story together for a reason. And I think this is just someone who possibly Meech was involved with in their career, not like sexually, of him being invested in. And that's why I try to think of the singer, rapper females, because this is very rare.
Or maybe it was somebody just somebody that just never got off the ground. And so we see that their money can get them into anywhere. That's not a problem. Their money and influence get them anywhere. So maybe we're seeing more about their journey until we actually know when they became like overly visible. Because that's the thing. They're not visible yet. They're big. Bryant knows them.
They're not visible.
They're not visible yet. And going to the Source Awards, like, remember any other time they went to an awards, they were there. They were a whole thing. They were a fly on the wall on it. This was the Andre 3000 show, which we're just this about
Andre
this.
Show. This is a Suge show. This is if you don't want nobody dancing all in your videos, this is all this happened in the 95 Source Awards. This was the big one.
Yeah. So it's just important to say that the who's who was there, even the ones that was just, in the background chilling.
On the wall, technically.
Yeah. So now we get Lucille and Charles. Lucille says, Charles says, I got the call. We're back on tour. She said, when? He said, it's been 2 months. I can't believe this conversation went the way it did. And then Charles was like, wait, why you seem so eager? Or basically paraphrasing, said, why you seem so eager to want to get me out the house? And, she's just, because I just want to apply for welfare and you're here. So, And he said, listen, I thought you would be happy, but you just want me out the house and for you to get free money. So, you know, Charles isn't up and up on his spirits. Lucille's definitely trying to figure out a way to make ends meet. This right here. Now, we've been busy, as I mentioned. So I haven't been online looking at the stuffs, the takes, and you know what everybody's talking about with this episode. But I definitely have a feeling people were talking about this scene because Worm and Nicole, where we see Worm smoking, they're playing R&B music. It's at night. Nicole's the only person there closing out, which is fine, I guess. The R&B part, no. But why aren't the lights on? But that's okay. The lights can stay off to save electric, I will say. But Worm smoking in the restaurant, I'm sure that's a big no. So we're going to count on all the wrongs that happen in this scene. So Worm smoking in the restaurant. Nicole says she wants to smoke. Nicole with the undiddy statement of I can suck and blow. Definitely a pause on my behalf, but Nicole was definitely about that. That's a wild line.
About exactly what y'all think she was talking about. She wasn't talking about no blunt.
That's a wild line right there. But anyway, they start kissing, they get naked, and all of this has happened under Terry's place of business. Like he can't just walk in at any time. We did talk about it already. What else needs to be made with this? Because this is
you know what? This is the beginning of a very interesting, I'm going to assume, love story between Worm and Nicole.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because if Nicole states that that's somebody she's with, he then becomes untouchable to Terry. Like Terry can't do anything to him at that point. Because the last thing Terry wants is to upset Nicole, which in turn will upset Meech, which in turn will cause Terry a bigger problem. Because then Meech will ask, why the hell would you even put him on Nicole if you didn't see this?
Well, let me ask you. I mean, you said Terry responds emotionally. You think he's thinking not sophisticated on this now?
No, he's gonna react emotionally, 100% so. But I think his emotions will be matched by Nicole's, and Nicole ain't gonna play about Worm at this point. Keep in mind, she only gave up the cookies once already in the car. That's the only time to Breeze, and this fast, she done left the car alone with Breeze and gave it up in Terry restaurant. Worm to smoke a little weed and all that stuff, and Worm
said she can suck and blow. Crazy.
She talk about, hey dog, that is insane. That's like, I forget the name of the movie where the woman was like, do you want to know how to whistle? Just put your lips together and blow. That's the equivalent of the two, and that's why I dug her even saying that, because I know that was the equivalent of it. But nonetheless, this is Nicole that's being hot in the pants.
Yeah,
like Nicole done grown up now. She got 2 bodies under her belt within a span of 2 months.
Yeah.
Nicole about to go crazy out here.
Yeah. Now getting to the last parts of this episode. Now we get Bryant. He's up in Platinum Palace getting a lap dance. Clearly he doesn't care about the stripper that's on him, but he looks over and sees Duffy. Duffy sees him. Duffy hits the Michael Myers.
Yep.
And then obviously my man, truly Bryant should have been removed from the strip club because you don't disrespect strippers like that. And she was in her right, just to be clear. Bryant is out of line. Based on his conduct, he should have been removed. That would have been the funniest scene ever. Ever.
Keep in mind though, here, he is still investigating someone in Atlanta. He is a cop in Detroit. And another cop in Atlanta said, dog, this investigation is all on you. What? The jurisdiction just didn't exist back, I swear.
At all.
But I love
the Axel Foley reference is top tier on point.
You know what? Not only Axel Foley, because I brought it up a little earlier, literally the John McClane reference is right on point. How many times this nigga was a cop in other cities?
Yeah.
Yes, all of these are in play here to let us know that jurisdiction wasn't a big deal. As long as you was a cop, you was a cop back then. No matter where you was at. Nakatomi Tower, whether you was in Beverly Hills, didn't matter where you was in the Washington, D.C. airport, like, or Bryant, like, no matter where, as long as you're a cop, you're a cop.
Yeah. All right, so now we get them getting ready for the Social Awards. Big Meat shows up, and this is all him talking to Maria, talking about they want to get to know each other and for the long game. We see Perty hitting the bump. B Mickey and Hoop. B Mickey asked his Hoop, how did Terry take it? He said he was very mad, never seen him mad like that before, but then he gets the money for his baby surgery and he wants to know, is he back in? But Hoop says, nah, that's between you and him. And he says, good luck with your surgery. Then we get to the Source Awards, 1995, where we start off by seeing, we get some cameos, obviously, of people playing these characters. Now, first thing first, we see Biggie, and who is Biggie with? Who is Biggie with?
The girl?
Because at first I said that's Faith, but then I looked again. Is that supposed to be Lil' Kim?
I think it was supposed to be Lil' Kim.
Okay, but you know what? You know why I said
Faith. And I
said the dude.
It was Charlie Baltimore. She was kind of light skinned, so I wasn't sure. But
that's my thing. Like, I don't want to get
completely. So then it was like, maybe that's Charlie Baltimore. Because, Big had
definitely not Charlie. Definitely not. At the source, I mean, I guess we could look and see if there's pictures of who was. Let me look that up real quick.
That's back then it would have been Kim. It wouldn't have been Faith. Even though Faith was there also. All of them, because all
exactly.
of them
Which is why that makes that even more interesting. That's why I say I think that's Faith because hold on, let me see.
I wouldn't even think about that now
because Kim was. Oh yeah, they were on stage together. I forgot they performed together.
Did the Players Anthem. They did all that shit at the 95 Source Awards.
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be Kim, but Kim was much smaller then.
Yeah.
And Faith was always a little bit bigger. That's why I thought it was Faith. But anyway, Biggie had a type. So this was Kim. Thought it was Faith at first, but no worries. Then we get Wu-Tang. We get Suge Knight without Tupac, by the way. Where was Tupac at this? Why was he not at the Source Awards?
He was in jail.
Let's look that up. Why wasn't
95 Source Awards? He should have been. This is around the time Me Against the World came out in 95, I want to say. I want to say Me Against the World came out in 95 because All Eyes on Me came out in 96.
He was right. He was in jail serving a sentence for sexual assault that took place in August of 1995, and he was released in October, which means this happened in September.
Yep. I distinctly, y'all ain't gonna call me old, and I distinctly remember the 95 Source Awards.
Yeah,
because how big that was back then. That was a huge award show.
Yeah. So we get Suge Knight and Death Row. We get Outkast, which had something to say that night. Bone Thugs Harmony, which makes sense. Now wait, let me look up another thing. When did?
You ain't talking about for Bone, are you?
Nah, I'm gonna look at when. Damn, bro. And Eazy-E died this year because Eazy-E is who put Bone Thugs on. Because I was about to say,
I want to say around that Source Awards was around the time that Crossroads came out. Because People on the Come Up came out in 93, 94. Yep. So we had Eternal, which is that album is insane. Yeah. But that was around 95 too. Because again, we're right after Ready to Die. We're right before Reasonable Doubt. Because Reasonable Doubt came out a couple of months afterwards, early 96 after the Source Awards. Like, Easy. Yep. This is when around this time Easy was diagnosed with AIDS.
He died.
He was like,
he was dead. He was dead in March. Yeah. So by the Source Awards, there was a tribute.
All by 90, but all that happened in 95, where it was revealed he had AIDS, and Easy died like a couple of months later from it, the complications of it. So all this was happening in 95.
Yeah. Then we see the Brat, and then ultimately we see her having a moment.
Yeah. That's also 95.
Yeah. So the Brat, and then that last but not least, we see Purdy having a moment with Left Eye, and then Trail pulls up on his bullshit and basically says, like, listen, it was about back and forth. BMF folks want to sign her, and she said, I'm gonna send you over contracts. It is what it is. Last
shout out for
scene,
Left Eye right there.
Huh?
That's a hell of a that's a shout out for sure. Them showing Left Eye there because she's important in 95 Source Awards too, because that's around the time of I want to say around this shit between her and Andre Rising of her burning down his house.
Burning houses down and shit.
The flames keep rising to the top and they don't stop.
Yeah. Last scene though, we get Loco and Jay Pusher having a moment, and Loco want to know where's Demetrius. Says his head's not in the game because he's at the Source Awards. He says, I'm here because I didn't give you a proper goodbye and showing you, the city. But as he says, like, we should talk about business without Meech. And Loco says, like, you made a good first impression, but we'll be in touch. That's the episode.
Yeah.
Y'all have already watched it. So I don't know if there's too much we need to recap here besides just some of the top things here with Lucille selling her wedding ring to pay for Nicole's room and board. Terry got B, Mickey, and Hoop keeping an eye on Markeisha, only to find out that, she met with Boom, she met with Vince, and the cop.
Just one real odd question, though. Why is Lucille paying for Nicole's room and board and Charles Works?
Who knows? Not my house business. We hear from B Mickey, talking about Kato and how she's pregnant with his child when he killed her. Trill with his BS, how he intimidated the DJ in order to get his artist to be played, but also supplies Purdy. Basically supplies Perty with coke, which basically keeps her under his control. B Mickey did get the assistance from the church, but seems to be hiding the secret here with that.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah. And then Nicole and Worm, and then Jay Pusher and his move with Loco behind Terry and Meech's back. So that's gonna be crazy going forward. So anyway, that will do it for episode 4. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about episode 4. And like we said, we're on time for episode 5. So once that drop on the 4th, step over for that. And we'll do what we do each and every week on out. So appreciate y'all watching this one. We'll see y'all back in just a couple of days. Thanks, y'all.